Hello, and welcome back to the Reach Your Ultimate Potential podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about reaching out to others. I just barely got back from a Lyft ride. I dropped my car off for the on-the-spot renewal and all that kind of stuff that comes up once a year, right? And I was given a ride back on a Lyft. And the driver was very nice. We got talking a little bit. And sometimes, I might want to ride in the car and just be silent. Maybe I have a lot of things on my mind. Maybe the day is busy and I just don't want to talk. But he was friendly, and I was like, okay, well, it's just a short ride. I'm happy to chat. And as we got talking, I discovered that he used to be a professional extra in LA. And when he lived in Vegas, I mean, he got to perform with some big names. Then he came back to Utah, and with a partner of his, they were going to start to perform on cruise ships. I mean, all sorts of cool stuff. Things that I wouldn't have known had I just stayed silent in the car. Now, of course, not every time do we get to know such cool stories, and maybe the conversation doesn't go the way we want it to, but it was fun for me to chat with this person. Also, we got talking about what each of us do for work. And I said, yeah, I'm a business coach. And he's like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. And what else do you do? Or what does that mean? And he said he had been helping businesses with the marketing and business plan side of things. And I help businesses with the mindset and emotional well-being side of things. Because as you're probably aware, you know a lot of things and people can tell you what to do. So in fact, you know what you need to do many times, and yet maybe you don't do it. And that's where I come in. The mindset and emotional well-being. I know what I need to do, but I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'm scared. I'm doubtful. I just don't think I know enough. It hasn't worked yet. The past is haunting me. Things are making it so that I don't move forward and take the action that I need to, whether it is just making those sales calls, raising my prices, and doing what I really want to do, but I haven't done it because of all these thoughts that get in the way, right? So that's where I come in. And it's interesting how we can get stuck in our own minds sometimes. Even me, sometimes I go through and I think, man, does anybody really care about what I do? I mean, I love what I do, and I know it works. I know it's helpful to a lot of people. In fact, this driver is like, man, tons of people need what you do. And that was very nice for me to hear because, like I was saying, sometimes I get stuck in my own head and I wonder if people care. And then I start to doubt my abilities. But when somebody like him says, man, so many people need what you do, that just reminds me that, yes, I'm doing the right thing. And that gives me a boost of confidence to say, I can continue to do what I know that I need to do. Same for you as a business owner. You're doing what you're doing because you're passionate about it. You have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of experience, and you want to help others in that way. And you can get stuck in your own mind. The mornings can start out rough. You can say, oh, it didn't work last week, or I'm tired this week, or oh my goodness, I have so much to do this week and I don't know how it's going to happen. You can get overwhelmed, you can get anxious, you can get worried, and all sorts of things that naturally happen to a business owner. Or you can learn ways to acknowledge that that might happen, but prepare yourself so that you can succeed regardless of what happens. So it was helpful for me to reach out to somebody this morning. And it's very helpful to you as well to reach out to other people. Here are a couple other thoughts that I wanted to share. One, there's a book written by Entrepreneur Magazine. Okay, if you listen to them, they have a podcast and they wrote a book. And one of the things that they mentioned was that often as a solopreneur or as a starting entrepreneur, when you might be doing a lot of things yourself, and maybe you are in control of your schedule and you're still building your business, that one very important thing to do is to schedule meetings or appointments in the morning. Because otherwise, it can be very easy to say, well, I don't have anything until noon, or I just have a couple things to do today, so I'm just going to sleep in, I'm going to be slow, and we'll just see what happens. But oftentimes, if we start the day that way, then the day drags. We don't have motivation because now it's like, oh man, it's 11 o'clock and I haven't done anything. Then we start to feel guilt. So the opposite is to say, all right, well, I'm going to start my meetings, let's say at 9 o'clock or earlier, right? Whatever. But if I'm going to have a meeting, let me plan it at 9. So it's one of the first things in my day. So I have to get up and exercise. I have to get up and do my morning routine. I have to get up and eat breakfast and shower, whatever it is, so that I'm ready to go at 9 o'clock. That's huge for me. Okay. These principles I've learned for myself, so they work. Also, scheduling time to reach out to somebody. Okay. So many times, as an entrepreneur or in this world of working remote, sometimes it can be a lonely type of position nowadays. Maybe it's that we work so remote that we don't have a lot of face-to-face or individual interactions. So a lot of it is living in our head. Or maybe as you're growing your business, you're not as busy as you'd like to be. So sure, you have some face-to-face interactions, but maybe they're quick transactions, or maybe you just don't know how many are going to come through the day. And so you have a lot of time where you're stuck with yourself, stuck in your own head. And then you can start to doubt yourself, right? You know how this cycle works. You start to talk yourself out of doing the things that you know you need to do. Can you relate with that? So for me, it's very important to schedule time to reach out to somebody. Okay. One-on-one conversations are so valuable to me. And it doesn't even have to be a sales call or, something that says I have to get this out of the conversation. Sometimes it's just a check-in. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day? What are you working on? How can I help you? That type of connection is so valuable to me. Okay. That's my little social boost. That's my ability to say, wow, I'm not in this alone. That's my ability to think of others. Okay. It's just so many benefits to me as I do so. So I'm sharing these stories about me, not to make this all about me, but stories that can help you relate to either your own stories or to say, wow, if that worked for him, maybe I can try that for me. Here's another example that happened last week. So, just scrolling through Facebook and I see a post from somebody who says, hey, I'm having this meetup on Friday for entrepreneurs and business owners. Do you want to come? You're invited. Great. Now, I went through the game in my mind where I said, well, I go to a lot of networking events and then I can judge whether they work or whether they don't. And I can say, it's a Friday. What am I doing on Friday? The kids are out of school, so maybe I need to spend time with them. Do I really have time to step away for 2 or so hours? These are people I don't know. I don't know how valuable it will be. And so you start to realize this game that I was playing in my head, almost talking myself out of it, right? But I continued to consider it, and I had it on my calendar as an option. And then I just knew the feeling that I had. I said, well, I just feel like I should go. And let me tell you, it was a great choice to go. I met people who really helped me just feel good about what I was doing again. Okay. People who I felt like we resonated, that we were about in the same stage of businesses, struggling with the same things, succeeding in the same things. Many of our businesses were different. And yet it was so nice just to relate and say, wow, you have kids too. It can be difficult to be a parent and trying to run a business. Or to hear their stories about how they've pivoted, how they went through the pandemic and came out stronger, or how they're still trying to come out stronger, right? And that's okay to hear everybody's stories. And again, just to feel like we're not alone, that we're going to make it through, and that there are all sorts of ideas out there, right? As one person said, there's a bazillion and one ways to make money. So that just opens my mind up, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, it's easy to just get so tunnel minded, right? And so fixated on this one option that has to work. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, focus is a good thing, right? Powerful laser focus can really help with a lot of things. At the same time, it can be kind of putting your blinders on, saying, well, I need to consider some other options. And that was super valuable. So now I want you to think of yourself, all right? What are some networking or reaching out options that you can try this week? Who can you reach out to? One of my favorite things that I've heard, because I've been doing a lot of these reaching out events, let's call them. And again, for me personally, it's so valuable because of that social aspect and what it does to my mindset. How I can start to think less of myself, or I can start to consider more opportunities instead of get so tunnel visioned. So ask yourself, and this specifically is what I'm trying to do each morning as I ponder, and instead of just rush through the day and say, what do I have to do? And how am I going to have enough time? And, this needs to happen. I say, well, what are my most important things that I need to get done today? And then I make a list. And then I prioritize. And then I make sure that the priorities get done first. And even if I get done maybe one or two things that day, because they were my priorities, then I feel good about them. As opposed to the other way where it's like, okay, I'm going to try to get 50,000 things done. And I get nowhere near 50,000 things. And so then I feel terrible at the end of the day. I feel overwhelmed most of the day. And at the end of the day, I do not feel very productive or successful. Can you relate with that? So again, I learned to simplify and choose the most important things that I need to get done that day, which allows me for some flexibility and some time to ponder throughout the day. And what I include is to think, who should I reach out to today? Who can I help, or who can help in this, accomplish this priority so that I don't have to do it alone? And the times that I do that successfully are marvelous because I get to reach out to somebody. And again, sometimes it's not like, oh, I reached out to them and all of a sudden I made tons of money off of them, or oh, I reached out and they became a new client. It doesn't always have to happen that way. But just the fact of reaching out, again, is beneficial to my social need, but also to my mental need that says, wow, I'm not alone. Other people have their things that they're going through. Maybe we can help each other. Regardless, we had a nice connection. Okay. So again, ask yourself each morning, who can I reach out to today? Now, for you, that might be, okay, sales call. Who do I need to reach out to specifically to have a deal, to start creating something for the future? Whatever it is, that can be great. I would also encourage you planning in something to reach out to somebody for a social need, all right? Something to include some fun, something to help you know that you're okay, that somebody you can relate to, right? I have a good friend who I've actually never met in person. He reached out to me at the beginning of the pandemic and we became good friends. And again, we've never met, but we occasionally reach out to each other. It's roughly every 2 weeks, actually. We reach out to each other and we just talk about business and life. He was there for me when I was dating, when I got engaged, when I got married, when I had my first baby. And he's been with me through the moving, the marriage, all that kind of change that maybe other people wouldn't quite understand, especially because I was trying to do my own business at the same time. But he and I can relate because he's a stepfather. I'm a stepfather. He's building his speaking business. I'm doing my speaking business as well as coaching, right? So we could relate on a lot of those aspects, but we could also relate on the deeper things. When parenting is hard, when business isn't going the way that we want it to, or when business is amazing, then somebody can truly understand how that feels. Not just, okay, I made this much money or I closed this deal, and somebody might hear that and say, good job, I guess. I don't know what that means. But for us, it's like, man, we've been working on this for the last year. This is a long time coming and it's a big deal, something we've been really hoping for. And what this means is it is a huge step in growing towards something that I would really like in the future. So it's so important to have somebody who has your back just like that. One more time, the power of reaching out, having some social interaction each day if possible, at minimum once a week, but each day if possible. Reaching out to somebody for that social aspect, just to say, hey, how are you doing? And if somebody can return that question and talk to you in a way that they understand, that they can empathize, then you can be honest and saying, yeah, today rocks or today's rough and I just need some help resetting. That's super valuable. If you can have that one-on-one interaction, if you can have that in-person interaction, if you can get to know more people or different people on that level where you feel understood, connected, and you can help them, regardless of whether it turns into business or not, that's healthy. That feels so good. And eventually it'll probably turn into more business. One last story. I was talking to another entrepreneur friend who's been in this entrepreneur world longer than I have. And I was talking to him about how he structures his day. First of all, he mentioned that, well, I just have to decide what are the most important things that I need to get done today. And then I focus on those. And after that, it's just, okay, let me handle what needs to be handled, whether it's kids or other meetings or other, responsibilities. But I also realized how many different, let's say, networks he's part of, right? He's on some boards. He's on some volunteer networks. He goes to all sorts of meetings. And so maybe each of these meetings aren't directly related to what he's doing. Maybe they don't turn into direct sales all the time, but because he is involved with so many people and people get to know who he is, then maybe somebody who's in that group can say, oh, I need this, so let me reach out to him. Or in their conversations, they can say, oh, I know somebody who can do that for you. I know somebody who can help. That's the power of reaching out as far as the business networking aspect goes. Now, I don't remember this exact number, but if you think if each person knows, let's say 140 different people, and you go network in a group of 10, and each person knows 140 people, then you just gave yourself access to over 1,000 people, right? Isn't that great? So if you can do that, and first giving of yourself, right? Saying, how can I help you? One of the best questions that I heard at this other networking event was, we went around the table and somebody, the leader was, tell us your name, tell us what you do, and tell us what you're working on or something you might need help with. And that was amazing to hear. It wasn't, here's what I'm trying to sell. It's here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I need help with. And then everybody listening had the opportunity to say, oh, well, I know somebody who can help. Or that's so nice to know. Now I can keep that in mind for the future. Or that's nice to know what you're going through. Regardless, it helps us see each other as human beings so we can know, like, and trust each other, right? So all sorts of important and powerful principles here. I encourage you to try it. We can talk about it all day long, but sometimes if we already believe that it's a scary thing, then just by talking about it, then we get even more worried about it and get some fear and we think, I'm not going to do it. So I encourage you to keep it simple. Just ask yourself, who can I reach out to today? And if it starts as pure friendship, hey man, I'm just encouraged to reach out and I'm doing it and I don't know what to talk about, but let's have fun. Cool. That's great. That's a good start. And then you might talk about what each other are doing and you might understand what the other person needs help with. Then you might be able to offer a solution and all of a sudden things are rolling and you're feeling good. Okay. And as you practice that and become good at it, and you can do it more and more often, it becomes more natural and it serves all sorts of needs. I encourage you to do that. Ask yourself that question, take that action, no matter how small it is, and good things will happen. Thank you again for joining this episode on Reaching Out with Reach Your Ultimate Potential, and we'll see you next time.